Number 8. Meghan Markle. Ever since Meghan Markle married the English Prince Harry and became the Duchess of Sussex, opinions about her seem to be drastically divided. But even those who love her can't really disagree with those who hate her, thanks to the strange nature of one of her recent controversies. In a 2022 interview with The Cut, Markle claimed that a cast member of The Lion King remake told her at the 2019 London premiere that when she married into the royal family, people in South Africa rejoiced in the streets, similarly to how they did when Nelson Mandela was freed from prison. Yet the only South African cast member, Dr. John Carney, wasn't even at the premiere, and he claimed he has never met the woman. Carney told the Daily Mail that while people in South Africa were indeed thrilled about Mandela's release from prison, the royal marriage was not seen as that big of a deal. The only other South African person involved in the movie was the composer Lebo M, but Carney said he wasn't actually a cast member. Carney chalked Markle's mistake up to a simple social faux pas and said that perhaps she misremembered an interaction with someone else. His assessment was a lot kinder than the general public's. Many of the Duchess's critics perceived her claims as just another example of a royal, narcissistic diva. Speaking to the Daily Mail, Nelson Mandela's grandson, Zwelivelil Mandia Mandela, said he was surprised by her remarks comparing herself to his revered grandfather. He called on Markle to pull up her sleeves and do more work for ordinary people, adding, "For the personality she is, she can do a lot of good in the global community by adopting the causes that Madiba, Nelson Mandela's tribal name, championed." Number 7. JAYNE Rivera. A Miami-based fitness model and social media influencer named JAYNE Rivera got the opposite of the attention she was looking for back in 2021 when she posted a series of sultry photos of herself standing in front of her father's casket. The 20-year-old was typically known for posting about fashion, swimwear, and travel, but after her father passed away, she showed her grief in a unique way that her followers described as sick, vile, disgusting, and disrespectful. One photo even showed Rivera standing sideways at the head of her father's casket with one leg lifted, while another showed her facing forward in what many perceived as a seductive type of pose. Commenters were outraged by her decision to do what seemed like a glamour photo shoot just a few feet away from her father's dead body. Some called on Rivera to delete the photos, while others just unfollowed her. She lost a good chunk of her 84,000 Instagram fans and her more than 300,000 TikTok followers. In response to the backlash, she told NBC that she didn't expect such harsh disapproval, but that she understood the negative reception. Rivera defended her decisions, stating that the photos were taken with the best intentions in a manner my father would have approved of had he still been alive. What do you think? Number 6. Casanova Scammer. Over a 4.5-year period, Brian Wedgeworth created at least 13 different dating profiles on multiple websites using fake identities. In each profile, he presented himself as a wealthy surgeon or doctor who attended a prestigious university. He told the women he met that he had no debt and he could help them pay off theirs and improve their finances. None of these claims were remotely true, though. It was all a ploy to gain women's trust and get access to their money. Wedgeworth scammed at least 40 women in at least 7 states. Once he got access to their banking information, he made payments with accounts that didn't have any money in them. But the victims received notifications that a payment had been made. This bought him more time to take them for all they had and disappear without a trace before they found out that the payments bounced. He told the women that he needed some money for business expenses because he was tapped out after helping them pay off their debts. The victims gave him money freely and sometimes even took out loans to hand over the funds. Wedgeworth also convinced women to buy him expensive jewelry, promising that he would repay them. Instead, he sold the jewelry and kept all the money for himself. After spending a year in prison for some of his crimes back in 2014, he went right back to scamming women that were looking for love. By the time he was arrested for a second time in 2021, he had stolen more than $1 million. Even after getting caught, Wedgeworth acted shamelessly self-absorbed. He even bragged about having a Netflix series made about him and getting a book deal for his spineless crimes. The 46-year-old pleaded guilty to 25 counts of wire fraud, mail fraud, aggravated identity theft, and money laundering. He was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison, followed by an additional 3 years of probation. Number 5. Britney Spears. When news broke out in 2021 that Britney Spears was being freed of a 13-year conservatorship that had complete control over her money and life, millions of her fans rejoiced in support for her newfound independence. But the pop star's life was still far from perfect, and some even speculate that she isn't mentally well, even if she was well enough to retake control of her life. One thing people have noticed recently is that Spears posts a lot of very racy photos with her body only as covered as it needs to be to avoid being considered pornography and taken down. In a rare interview with ITV in 2022, her estranged 15-year-old son, JAYNE, said he believed his mother's constant social media posts were an example of attention-seeking behavior, and that he believes the posts might never stop. JAYNE said he hadn't seen his mother in months, and that he believed they could repair their strained relationship with some help. In fact, he said he really wanted to see his mom again, but it would take a lot of time and effort for them to fully restore their bond. In response to the interview, Spears wrote a lengthy Instagram post apologizing to her son for him feeling like she wasn't living up to her parental role. She also said that she hopes her kid can someday understand why she chooses to post the revealing photos, mentioning how the conservatorship restricted her freedom for years, and then cutting into her children's father, Kevin Federline, for criticizing the media and giving JAYNE permission to do the interview. In another post, she wrote how she was sorry to him, but not sorry for her controversial posts. Number 4. Tay Francis. Tay Francis already had a long string of convictions for some crimes against women when he decided to murder his girlfriend, 23-year-old Chloe Loy, in 2020. The 40-year-old bodybuilder stabbed her to death in a London hotel room, then sent a photo of her body to his lawyer with a message confessing to the crime. After asking jurors to consider whether Francis was suffering from a mental illness when he killed Loy, prosecutor Kate Lumsden described him as a violent and self-obsessed steroid user of at least 10 years. She said steroids had made him aggressive and overly paranoid, causing him to kill his girlfriend out of a sudden anger outburst. Francis had beaten Loy up numerous times in the 6 years they'd known each other. At one point, Loy even obtained a restraining order against him, but like many abuse victims before her, she was lured back into the relationship, hoping they could somehow work things out. Her family reportedly begged her to leave Francis because they were convinced he would kill her one day, but she unfortunately didn't listen to their warnings. Back in 2002, he was convicted of assaulting a woman at Axe Point. In 2013, he spent time behind bars for threatening to stab yet another girlfriend in the neck. As you can see, Francis had quite the history for violence against women. In the months leading up to Loy's murder, the couple moved a few times due to her boyfriend's increased steroid-induced paranoia episodes, where he claimed someone was after them. He admitted to being guilty of manslaughter with diminished responsibility due to his mental state, but a jury convicted him of murder and sentenced him to life in prison. Number 3. TEAL SWAN. Mary Teal Bosworth, better known to her devoted followers as Teal SWAN, started branding herself on YouTube as a spiritual and self-discovery guru back in 2011. She quickly gathered hundreds of thousands of followers who tune in to listen to her give advice on many topics, including mental health. And while she doesn't claim to be a licensed mental health expert, she claims to share the truth of the universe. Many people grew to live their lives following her advice, and some even died by it. In one highly controversial video, TEAL SWAN described suicide as a safety net or reset button that's always available. She even claimed that she had once tried to take her life as a teenager and that traditional psychiatry didn't always help to improve her mental health. Many have accused the 37-year-old of glorifying and even encouraging the act of suicide. At least 4 of her dedicated fans have taken their own lives, leading some to believe she's responsible for their deaths. TEAL SWAN denies allegations that she had any real influence on those individuals. She's also been accused of convincing people they were abused as children and that they have repressed the memories of it. SWAN herself claims to have grown up in a satanic cult that carried out terribly gruesome rituals and abuse, and has said she repressed those memories herself. But many consider her story so outrageous and hard to believe, especially since no evidence of the cult she describes has ever been uncovered. In fact, there seems to be a growing body of critics who believe the self-help influencer is no more than a greedy narcissist that draws people in with her attractive appearance and articulate way of speaking. It's possible that the worship she receives from her followers only fuels her sense of self-importance and entitlement. Number 2. Paul Zimmer. 24-year-old Paul Zimmer rose to social media stardom in 2015 on the musical.ly app that was later bought out by TikTok. He posted video clips almost every day featuring him and his fiancée JAYNE dancing and acting out short scenes. Within a year and a half, his videos regularly received about 500,000 views, and he had almost 1 million Instagram followers. In early 2017, Zimmer started selling stickers, which his fans could pay for in exchange for things like shout-outs in videos, a direct message, or having him share their content. But he failed to deliver on hundreds of these favors that fans paid money for, and his followers began calling him out and campaigned for him to get banned. Instead of making good on the purchases, Zimmer and JAYNE simply disappeared from social media entirely. After 2 years of radio silence, he posted a random side-by-side photo of himself and someone who looked exactly like him, supposedly a 16-year-old boy named Troy Becker. The caption contained a link to the Troy Becker Instagram profile and a statement about how Becker looked like a much younger, sexier version of Zimmer. Social media users noticed immediately that the men in the 2 photos looked too much alike to not be the same person. They also saw that the Troy Becker profile only had 11 posts and seemed pretty new. It was also suspicious that Zimmer suddenly posted for the first time in years, and many believed he made the Becker profile as a way to reintroduce himself to social media with a new identity, most likely to make money while avoiding answering for the previous allegations against him. Zimmer tried to keep up the act. He made another Troy Becker post claiming that while social media was no longer his passion, he wanted to encourage his old followers to subscribe to Becker's page. The post included yet another statement about how much the 2 looked alike. Some influencers went out of their way to prove that Zimmer and Becker were the same person, but they really didn't need to, because nobody really believed Zimmer's painfully obvious attempt at rebranding himself to avoid accountability. Court records obtained by Insider show that he even legally changed his name to Troy Becker in 2019, around the time he came back to social media, giving weight to the false nature of his actions. He once again vanished after the backlash, leaving the world to draw their own conclusions. What do you think? Number 1. Stephanie Bowie. On New Year's Day last year in 2021, Stephanie Bowie warned 21-year-old Darren Russell that she was going to kill him. She then stabbed him twice with a knife she had hidden literally up her sleeve. The blade cut a major artery, causing Russell to bleed out and die. Bowie left the murder weapon and her jacket at the scene of the crime in the Scottish town of Erskine, then tried changing her appearance with a new hairstyle. But police quickly caught and arrested her in connection to the crime. Jail sources told the press that Bowie was mainly concerned with how ragged she looked in her mugshot, which was taken after a night out drinking and showed up all over the news. She was also worried about how she would access makeup and get fake tans from behind bars. It was clear to anyone who followed her on social media that appearances were beyond important to her. Bowie frequently posted selfies and was dolled up in every single photo. And while many may be quick to think jail doesn't allow inmates the luxury of looking glamorous, the facility the young woman was at while awaiting her trial allowed its prisoners to order items from an approved list, which included some cosmetics and beauty products. Bowie took advantage of the opportunity right away. A jury later convicted her of murder, possession of a knife, and more. She was sentenced to 16 years in prison for her crimes. Thanks for watching. Have you ever met someone who was a little too self-obsessed? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.